Star Spangled Story. A Star Spangled Story, Jonathan Nowak.
In 1931, the Star Spangled Banner became officially the national anthem of the United States. Since then, it has opened up government events, military events, and of course, just about every sporting event. We all know the Star Spangled Banner. We've heard the Star Spangled Banner. How many of us really know the Star Spangled Banner? How many of us know the lyrics, the words, all 4 verses? Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, dignitaries, and judges. I would like to tell a story. My story starts way back in 1776. A young nation is born. We won the Revolutionary War. The Declaration of Independence was signed. We became a sovereign nation. Well, we were a sovereign nation, but the British didn't really think of us as that. They thought of us as still the colonies. They didn't really follow through with the treaty. And they still, over the years, they continued to block our ships. They made alliances with the Native Americans, blocking our expansion. So, in 1812, we started a war. We went to war with the British, and that was the second War of Independence. Now, this went on for 2 years, and the British were pretty embarrassed by their original loss. They weren't going to be defeated again. 2 years into the war, 2 years into the war, and they came at us with everything. This was it. They wanted this over. They wanted us to lose this war. They wanted to win. They sent all of their ships, all of their artillery, and they came down to Washington. They burned down the Capitol building. They burned down the presidential mansion. President Madison and his wife had to flee. They barely escaped. And they took some prisoners, prisoners of war, including a Dr. William Bean. Now, it's interesting to think about this, though. 200 years ago, it still held true that if you had money and you had power, you could hire yourself the best attorney. And that's what happened. Dr. Bean's family hired attorney Francis Scott Key to negotiate for a prisoner release. And that he did, sanctioned by the government. With this skinner, he went out, took the rowboat out to the prisoner ship. And he did his negotiations. And they went rather well. They agreed to release the prisoners, but not just yet. There was still a final battle, and he didn't want them to go back and tell them their location. They wanted Baltimore. That was the 3rd largest city and a very major key military point. There was a boat, there was Fort McHenry, protected by a large rampart, and they built a flag. They made a flag during this war so big that you could see this from miles away. Mr. Magoo could see this flag. 30 feet tall, 42 feet wide, 15 stars, 15 stripes. Not quite the flag we know today. There were only 15 states. It was impossible to expand because the British instead were making alliances with the Native Americans. So they brought the fight to Baltimore, on land and by sea. So while Mr. Key was on the boat, as the sun sort of was going down, during the twilight, you see the flag over the rampart, Fort McHenry. And it got dark. And in the darkness, they started firing. Now, I want to take a moment to think about boxing. Does that have to do with this? Well, I will tell you. Boxing is all about reach. If you have a bigger reach, you can hit your opponent. And if they don't have the same reach, they can't hit you. And that's exactly what happened. All these ships, the British had superior power. They had superior weapons. And they were able to reach us, and when we fired back, we could not reach those ships. 1,000 men in there fighting to protect the fort. They were fighting by land, and the bombs were coming in by sea. And through the night, They didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know what was going to happen. Were we going to win? Were we going to lose? Were we going to become a British nation? Was the flag still there? In the morning, whose flag would be rising up above the rampart? Would it be our flag or the British flag? Well, through the night, they started bombing. And those bombs came in, boom, 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 from all over. Pow, pow, pow. The rockets, the mortars, the bombs, and all that glowing light. He could see the flag. And he would tell his men, he would tell the men and the prisoners, our flag is still there. Our flag is still there. That was hope. And then it stopped. Silence. Did we win? Did we lose? Did they just run out of ammunition? We didn't know. It was dark. We didn't have streetlights. Well, the morning came, and in the dawn's early light, we saw as the smoke cleared, there she was, our Star Spangled Banner, tattered and torn and bent, but still hanging proudly. History will show this war was not won or lost. It was a stalemate. But we did win. We won our independence. The world knew that we were a nation, a serious nation to be contended with. The British left us alone. This event was so important that Francis Scott Key, attorney at law, wrote a poem on a piece of paper he happened to have with him. And he penned this poem. And I want to share this poem with you tonight. Oh, say, can you see, by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars, through the perilous fight, over the ramparts we watched, so gallantly streaming, the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that Star Spangled Banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave.